I started teaching in 1966 in Wappingers Junior High School English. Right then, IBM was big in the Wappingers area, and Ketchum could not hold them. So they went and they built John Jay High School, so they would have basically Wappingers Junior feeding to Ketchum and Van Wyck feeding to John Jay. And in 1968, 69, John Jay opened, and quite a few of us from Wappingers Junior, along with some people from Van Wyck, went to John Jay because the ninth graders went to the high school. It wound up that I think some of the best teachers that were in Ketchum and some of the better teachers out in the junior high wound up in Jay, and I thought we had a great faculty right from the beginning. 1969, the Mets won the World Series, the Knicks won, the man went on the moon, and we had Woodstock. I mean, how many events in one year like that? And I remember teachers not going to work to see the World Series. You know, I remember some of the younger teachers went to Woodstock. I remember teachers were viewing the moon landing. There were so many things happened that year. When I started teaching, we used things like an eraser and a blackboard and a movie projector, and we had books, and we had to fill out report cards by hand. It's unbelievable how education has changed. We lived the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s were the best years. The music, the sports, the culture, the everyday living was fantastic. Things started to change the late 90s, early 2000s. And the start of it was, of course, computers, cell phones, technology. In the 70s and 80s, it was in that time I had been coaching basketball that we started, I think we started electives in the late 70s, early 80s. Shakespeare, practical communication, Mrs. D'Amato, I think, did one. Mr. Birmingham, I think he did cinema. And I started sports writing and sports literature. And the electives went over really well. I had a guy in my class named Rick Zolzer, who is now Mr. Renegade. And he tells people that the first book he ever read was one I gave him in the sports class, North Dallas 40. And he said that's changed his whole educational life. He started to read after that. And now he is, he was the voice in the New York Nets, and he's been Mr. Renegade for ages. But the school events, the plays that were put on in the auditorium, proscenium, kids are in those plays, and sports. I mean, I coached in John Jay for 13 years, and in that list I listed, we had some excellent coaches in John Jay, with Tom Rogers and Panessa wrestling right through baseball with Bernie Reimer and Bianco. And then and then Chacho came along and killed the whole thing. But that's another story. Steve is a character. I was showing a movie in the sports class. I think it was Bang the Drum Slowly, which is a book we read and became an excellent sport movie. And during one class, a student came to the doorway, and I hadn't started the projector yet, the movie yet. Came to the door, he asked me a question, and it was it was a waste of time. And when I went back into the room, I just had a feeling something wasn't right. So I said, we're going to skip the film today. We've got a writing assignment and so on. We did it, and I wheeled the VCR with the tape back into the English office, and I said to a couple people, something happened in there. And I looked at the tape, and I said, wait a minute. And I pressed the button, and all of a sudden, there's a guy and a girl, and she's on the desk, and it was a porn movie that they snuck in there. And I thank God that I didn't play it there. And to this day, I've had rumors who started, but I can't verify who it was. A woman came for an interview, and while she was upstairs, she had a Volkswagen Beetle, which members of the football team took the front door off, carried the car in, and put it in the corridor in the main entrance to the school. She came down the steps, the car was there, and it was hilarious. I mean, whoever the principal was at the time, I think accepted it, but was ready to kill him. I started in 1978, and 45 years later, I'm still doing it. and gets me out of the house. But I really like it. We have concerts every weekend, every Friday night. We go to trips, go to Saratoga baseball games, go to Broadway plays. You know, we run a camp, we run a basketball league. We have a volleyball league that I started 30 years ago, 16 up, and these high school and college kids, right to men in the 50s and 60s, love it. Your video was excellent. The people that saw that are really commended how well you put that together. The music, the former band and the present band, and just the whole history and the that you put in there. That would get probably an Academy Award if for local videos. So you did a hell of a job. I was impressed with that. I sent it to a lot of people. And in fact, a few, I know Bonnie Kiefer's coming. I think Patty Nardone, she just turned 60 and she still looks 18. She's one of my favorites. And Bonnie just moved to Carolina, but she's coming up for the Vagodas. On August 5th, I will be 79. Roop is around the same age, and Bogart is right there. We still get together. I see Mr. Bernie Reimer comes up. Anyway, I will try and get some more faculty to come to the Vagodas.